There's three perspectives. The first one is the couple's perspective, your perspective of the wedding day, or maybe another circle in that circle is your camera's perspective. Let's start exercising our ears. It's just, it's a different sense that we're not used to.
What do you feel like is the missing link that could elevate a wedding film from being simply good to emotionally unforgettable?
There's two types of memory. If our goal as wedding videographers is to help our couple remember their day, not only remember their day, but make it unforgettable, we need to understand what happens in our brain when we recall memories, right?
What genre of music really does hold the most emotional weight?
I think that is the beauty of music, because we all have different tastes of music. So I think to truly make your films unforgettable, you have to realize the power of music.
All right, guys. Well, we have the man, the synth, the legend back with another video today. Boomer, Multiply Sound. Dude, how the heck are you, bro?
Good, man. I appreciate you wanting to have me on. Nice hoodie. Really cool hoodie. Where'd you get it?
I got it from a pretty awesome company called Multiply Sound. They honestly are filling up my closet, which I'm thankful for.
Let's go.
I haven't bought clothes for myself in I don't know how long. So I really do appreciate you putting clothes on my back. That's amazing.
That's right. I'm glad we're matching.
Well, dude, I am so excited just to have you on, because I wanted to have a conversation with you because, you are, we'll just go ahead and say you're a master of sound. I would put you in that category, right? That's kind of your niche that you've been just learning throughout the years. It's a part of your identity with music, and just super talented with it. And I feel like it could be a good time to just dive into really the nitty gritty when it relates to wedding films. And for instance, just diving right into the first question, from your experience, what do you think is the biggest creative or technical challenge holding most filmmakers back from making those truly impactful wedding films?
Yeah, I think from a music perspective, the first thing I would say is not using music licensing websites properly, right? How people say, I spend days, 10 hours trying to find the perfect song for my couples because that's how much I care about them. It's like, to me, that's not really a flex anymore. Like that, you shouldn't be spending hours or days on trying to find the perfect song. That just tells me that you're not implementing the paradox of choice properly for these music licensing websites. I mean, a lot of them make it super easy to find the genre that you're looking for, find the tempo, that you're looking for, find the key that you're looking for, key matching songs together. I mean, whenever I enter a music licensing website, I am just, maybe I'm going to the filmmaker that I really aspire to be, or the vibe of the wedding day. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time on these sites because I have, I'm implementing paradox of choice. Paradox of choice is basically, if you have, 10,000 songs, right, that you're trying to pick from, why not make it a little bit easier for yourself and whittle it down to, maybe 100, right? So that's the first thing I would say.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip. And I feel like it's getting a lot easier nowadays to find songs and not spend those days. I mean, I remember in my early days, I was one of those filmmakers. It's like, I just can't find the right song, or I pick a handful of songs, then I get into the editing process and I'm like, man, this doesn't fit. And I think my biggest problem was because I didn't really know the story I wanted to tell until I got in the editing room, which I feel like was one of my biggest mistakes. So if you can do so much more prep work in, when you're navigating your wedding film coming up, or just getting to know your couple in general and knowing their vibe, what style of music they like, and really the theme of your story, that's going to help you so much more when you're dialing that in. So I feel like that's a great tip, and one that I definitely struggled with early on. What would you say is like the missing link? Because I feel like with music, yeah, that's a pain point where it can be challenging finding the right song, especially if you don't know your couple, you don't know the story you want to tell. But then getting into like the nitty gritty of it, what do you feel like is the missing link that could elevate a wedding film from being simply good to emotionally unforgettable?
Emotionally unforgettable. Okay, so that's super interesting. Those two words are super interesting to me. So, emotion, right? We're not talking about like the cold hard facts of what happened. We're talking about like what you felt, how a couple felt on their wedding day, right? Not what exactly happened, right? So we're talking about feelings, and we're talking, right, emotions. And then you also said unforgettable, right? Something that's timeless. So let me go into a little bit of science here and get a little bit nerdy. There's two types of memory, right? Like if our goal as wedding videographers is to help our couple remember their day, not only remember their day, but make it unforgettable, right? Make it be timeless and bring them back to the emotions. We need to understand what happens in our brain when we recall memories, right? There's two types of memory. There's explicit memory, which is cold hard facts, right? Names, dates, birthdays. And then there's implicit memory, right? Emotional based memory, right? How we felt. That's exactly what we're talking about, right? Love, joy, right? Like happiness, sadness, emotional based memory. It actually turns out that our sense of sight is not as connected to our emotions, our emotional based memory, as our sense of touch, smell, and sound, right? Touch, smell, and sound is way more connected to our emotional based memory than our sense of sight. So like, I mean, honestly, I kind of feel bad for photographers because images and visuals aren't connected to emotional based memory. What is connected? What huge advantage do we have as videographers that like photographers don't have? We have the sense of sound. We can play with the sense of sound and trigger emotional based memory, right? Like, I don't know if you've had like a memory where a sound is actually way more connected to that memory than our sense of sight. Like I remember hearing songs from my past that completely bring me back to a past memory, right? When I hear a song, or couples say they have like their song, right? It's like such a weird thing for, couples to say, this is our song, right? But it's bringing them back to an emotional based memory. So I think to truly make your film's unforgettable, you have to realize the power of music, right? This is something that cuts past logic and goes straight to emotion, goes straight to the heart. So I would say that's the first thing that you have to recognize, is that I could probably make a pretty strong argument scientifically, if you want me to go into way more detail, that that music and sound and audio is more important than your visuals. If we're talking about emotional, you said making films unforgettable and timeless. If that's our goal as wedding videographers, I would say music, audio, sound alone is the most important thing then.
I love that. I love the theory behind it, and I think it's so important understanding that so that you can make those better decisions when you're navigating the edit, right? What would you say, like from a practical standpoint, what sounds do you feel contribute to a more like higher emotional response than others? And I feel like maybe that's a nuanced answer because I guess it depends on the individual. But I mean, from your experience with music and theory and creating these sounds, what have you found to just hold so much more weight emotionally?
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. Let me think about that. I think that is the beauty of music, because we all have different tastes of music. And we all know what we like and what we don't like, right? We all have genres of music that we love. Like I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of country music, right? But I can also like appreciate it so much. Like we all were born with these like unique tastes of what sounds pleasing to us. So that's definitely a great answer for sure. I don't know if there's like, you know, a straight up sound. Are you talking more like instrument or
Well, I guess just like leaning into the characteristics of different sounds that it just play that role in shaping the emotion, right? But like you said though, I think it's going to be nuanced because we all innately have just this uh different way of feeling when we hear those things, right? It's, you know, for instance, if you're creating a wedding film that is like, you know, if they were creating a wedding film for you and they put country music in the film somewhere, right? There would be a huge disconnect for you. And you'd probably look at it in a negative tone because country music isn't something that obviously you connect with, right? So I guess to your answer, it's more so like you have to, that's why it's so important to lean on your couple's personality and understand what resonates with them. Like what are those emotional levels that, you know, that they are drawn to so that you can create something that truly resonates emotionally, not just resonates emotionally for other people, because that's not who you're serving your couple. So if you want to create that emotional film and have it emotionally unforgettable, I think that at the heart of it is just knowing deeply what those triggers are for your couple. Before we get into the next tip, I do have to talk about today's sponsor, VidFlow. If you want to elevate your client experience, I feel it really starts with elevating how you deliver your wedding films. And VidFlow is one of the premier services for videographers to create an exceptional first-time viewing experience for your couples. And truth be told, it's an experience that they deserve. Back in the day, I used to use the old and faithful YouTube link, and it just didn't create the feeling that I really wanted it to. It didn't have that sense of my brand or that presence that I really wanted to demonstrate inside this first-time experience. There was no way to add music to create this atmosphere. There was no elegant design to the way I organized these films. It honestly just kind of felt a little bleh, to be honest. And with VidFlow, there's so many unique features that makes this platform such a no-brainer for wedding videographers. From creating a private video website for each client to giving them a host of downloading options, giving your couples multiple ways of viewing their film, whether that's on their phone or on the TV, on their laptop, easily sharing with friends and family. VidFlow is the premier option that I would recommend for anybody looking to elevate their client experience. So if you're interested in creating this unrivaled viewing experience for your couples, head over to vidflow.co and use my code WAYWARD at checkout to receive 20% off on an annual subscription. VidFlow is one of the best, and your couples definitely deserve the best. Now that that's out of the way, let's get right back into the video.
Like you said before, you know, pre-production, you know, we think of pre-production like what type of shots are we going to get, right? And that's cool. You know, we're videographers. That's what we do. We capture visuals. But what type of pre-production that can we do for our couple to understand who they are? You know, a question I've been asking recently is, you know, some people ask like, what's your favorite type of music that you like to listen to? Well, my favorite type of music that I like to listen to is Linkin Park, you know, or just like heavy, you know, but I mean, I don't want that in my wedding film. A better question to ask is what type of love, what type of music describes your love? I love that question because it's way more, well, oh, okay. You know, I'm not going to say like some random band that I like. I'm going to describe music that I feel like, describe the lyrics. I'm going to describe the instrumentation that I feel connects to my relationship, you know, with my person, right?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because I feel like, yeah, if you ask your couples what type of music do they like to listen to, you might just get just such a vast variety that it can make it even more complex when you're going to choose that song for their wedding film. And to your point, yeah, I mean, Linkin Park might not fit the mold for like the wedding film that you're going for, or like that you want to see. And yeah, I guess that makes so much sense, because I have that in my questionnaire of like, what songs do you like to listen to? But I also have a question in there that gives me a lot more descriptive pieces. Like, so for instance, one question is, what are 3 words that describes your wedding? And it has like a category list of things that they can choose from. So if it's like romantic, if it's adventurous, if it's whimsical, if it's like Christ-centered, like those are descriptive words that help me like really compartmentalize what songs are going to probably fit the mold best for this story. And it gives me like the centralized theme for the story. So I feel like, yeah, that's a great question. Instead of just like, what kind of music do you like to listen to? Like what songs really describe your love story, or like your relationship, I think is such a better question.
Totally. And I'm still like pondering your question before that was incredible. I think the one thing that I just say to videographers in general is, when in doubt, cinematic.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to go wrong with some just beautiful cello, a beautiful violin, a solo piano. Any solo instrument is just like, there's something very innocent, you know, about that. And so, yeah, that maybe that's like a more universal question, or universal answer to that question of what type of music will truly make, you know, a film unforgettable. I don't know if there is an answer, but if there was, I would say always just go with cinematic. There's nothing wrong with that. If there's genres all around the wedding day and it's hard to like pinpoint something, I will always pick something extremely cinematic, because that, I mean, and this is where words kind of fail with music, because music is this deeply spiritual thing that's like hard to describe and sometimes hard to articulate. But man, you put on an insanely incredible Hans Zimmer score, you know, or just a beautiful cinematic song, you're just like, dang, like this is beautiful. You know, all these strings, all these instruments all playing together in unison, like that. Maybe that's the best answer that I can come up with.
Yeah, no, I love that answer, because it's, you know, where words fail, music speaks. And I feel like, yeah, it's something too, when we're going about it, I feel like it's just a pain point for a lot of filmmakers, is like, what genre of music really does like hold the most emotional weight. And I think, yeah, anything cinematic is going to really serve you. I think anything that's like ethereal, that just kind of creates this atmospheric feeling to it. And I think really the best answer, like, you know, we've said before, is just, you know, the more that you can lean on your couple and kind of just get yourself out of the way. If you try to like rely too heavily on your own taste, not to say that you shouldn't also bring in your own personality into the film, but if you rely too heavily on what you like over what the couple likes, there could be a disconnect.
Right. Right. But it is important too, to take into account your perspective too. Another thing I say to filmmakers is, there's 3 perspectives. You know, if you can just picture a big Venn diagram of 3 big circles, the first one is the couple's perspective, right? Which is, or the way the couple wanted their wedding day to be, right? So like you said, that question of 3 words that describe your wedding day, like that is your couple's perspective. That's one big circle. Another big circle is your perspective of the wedding day, or maybe another circle in that circle is your camera's perspective. Like, what did you actually capture, right? And then that circle kind of goes into your taste in music, right? And then the another big circle was is everyone's collective perspective, right? The overarching, cold hard facts of the day, everyone's experience, things that can't be like are just facts. Like it rained, before the ceremony, and the ceremony was late by 10 minutes. Like that's, the grandma did the splits on the dance floor. That is a factual thing that is all encompassing. So I really like to take in those three perspectives when choosing a song. Maybe one song, you have like 3 or 4 songs during your wedding film, I don't know. Maybe one song might lean towards the couple's taste, and then maybe another might lean towards your taste, and then another might lean towards the collective, overall perspective. Does that make sense?
It is super helpful, kind of like putting that to, like just putting pen to paper and just looking at that as like the couple's perspective, the camera's perspective, your perspective, and then outside of that is everyone's perspective. And so it's like all of those things really help shape and mold just like the overall like sound design of your film, or the music design, I should say. Because the last question I want to kind of unpack is relative to sound, because I feel like this is something that's so overlooked, and on the surface it feels like common sense, but when you're in it and you're creating it, it's for some reason it's not something that's always inside the box of creation, and that's relative to sound. And so why do you think sound is often underestimated or overlooked in wedding filmmaking, and how do you think that we could just do a better job of paying more attention to it to just help really transform our films?
Totally. I think the first thing lies in the name of what this industry calls us. Videographers, right? Videographer entails that we capture visuals. We capture video with our eyes, right? Which, yes, we do. That's a very important thing of what we do. But we're also music composers. We're picking songs and we're audio engineers. We're miking people up, and plugging into a DJ system. Like there's other labels that are like also important, equally as important, that don't completely encompass the name of who we are. I've always thought wedding storytellers is probably might be the best way to describe who we are. And so yeah, we're also insanely visual people. As humans, we're visual. When you're going through footage, it's super easy to just look at a video, like a visual that you shot, and just keep going, keep looking over your visuals. But it takes that extra effort to click on a song and listen. Right? Like it's a totally different sense that we've neglected in this industry, or is just not as exercised. So I would say the first thing is let's start exercising our ears, right? I mean, as I grew up, like my background is in music. And so coming into this, my ears were very well trained and well exercised, and I could, I knew frequencies, and I knew what sounded good, and I knew just I knew how to tell a musical story with, low dynamics and building and crescendos and, all these things. That was my strength, and I needed to learn visual. I needed to exercise my eyes, right? Coming into this industry. And and so I needed to learn color. I needed to learn shutter speed. I needed to learn aperture, all these things. And so I'm just saying that for a lot of people, we need to flip the script. A lot of people are learning video first, and then having to learn, having to train their ears. And so it's that extra effort to hit that sound effect and listen, and hear sounds. It's that extra effort to click and listen to songs. It's just it's a different sense that we're not used to.
Yeah, I relate so well to it because I feel like too there's a sense of mindfulness that goes into the editing process, and that if we're not kind of being mindful of like all the different elements that really make up a great emotional film, if we're neglecting certain parts and we get to the end of our film and we're wondering what's missing. I feel like for me, a lot of what's missing, even after I deliver a film, is sound. It's my sound design, this atmosphere that's just, there was just this huge disconnect in this creation, this world that I was building, that it just tends to fall flat when I just don't take that extra step. And I mean, I'll be honest, I've been a super lazy wedding filmmaker over the years of like, look, I get it. Like, you're 2 days before deadline. You got to get this film done. Sound design's the last thing you worry about. Oftentimes it's something you don't worry about at all. You're like, nope, song's good enough. All right, we got visuals, we got color, everything looks good. Got a decent story. Okay, we can send this off. And then you look at it months later, you're like, okay, the trees are blowing here, but you don't hear any of that ambient sound. Or, you have all this, like the drone, or like you want to hear the wind and the expansiveness. Like Films by Madeline, I feel like she does such a good job of creating that atmosphere with her work. And like you just feel so much more immersed. And I think that's the biggest word that you can take away from why sound is so important, is because it creates that immersion.
And it triggers implicit memory, emotional based memory. And that's the whole goal as wedding videographers. If we truly want our couples to relive their day, to bring them back to the way they felt, visuals is not going to do it. It's going to be a supporting role, and maybe that's not what people want to hear, and maybe I'm gonna get blown up for this, but I will stand by this. This is science. Like audio and music and sound is way more connected to our emotional based memory than visuals. And so that's why, like, we can talk technical stuff all the time. I helped you with a YouTube video a couple months ago, and that was very technical, right? And I can show you how to EQ a vocal, or I can show you how to, whatever technical things we can work through is great, but people won't actually care about those technical things until they know how important it is and how big of a why music and sound actually is. And so that's why I just freaking punch down the fact of why music and sound is important. And when you understand why music and sound is important, you will spend an extra hour, of building out your sound design. You will spend an extra hour of pre-production, or you'll listen a little bit more during the wedding day. You'll listen to the songs that are being played in the getting ready rooms. What's the playlist that's going on in those? You'll listen to the first dance song. You'll listen to the recessional song. What is the song that's going to trigger the party? That song is super important. I'm always just ear to the ground listening for that. And so when you understand the why, you'll spend more time. Bars.
I love that.
Mic drop.
Yeah. The bars. Yeah. Mic drop. Love that. Well, we've talked about the technical, or we talked about like really the essence and the theory and the reason why it's so important. Let's just like take this last few seconds to just dive into the technical, because I feel like you have some products that just are absolutely revolutionizing when it comes to sound design, and how filmmakers who are just getting started into sound can really start building out this atmosphere, this feeling, and creating these moments where you're hold on, sorry, let me I have my train of thought. I messed
dude,
up. Let me just go. Let me
product to even describe. No, please keep this in, because this is so funny. This sound pack doesn't exist anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's not a light thing to like try to describe. So sorry, keep going. This is great.
No, and I love it. When I look at it though, I look at it from like a beginner's perspective and point of view, because like sound is still very, in my own world, I'm in the infancy stages of like my sound journey. And so for someone that's just like kind of diving into those waters, your sound pack helps really kind of bridge the gap, I would say.
Yep.
Because it's one of those things where it doesn't take a ton of knowledge and theory to really get started into creating an atmosphere and creating that feeling. And so I just want to kind of like let you just touch on these, because you just came out with volume 2, which is just even better and bigger, and it's insane.
Yes,
and
sir.
so like, I know I can't do it as justice as you can. So I want to hear from you on just the power of these packs.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, what I was finding in this filmmaking world was there's a significant gap, right? And how actual movies in Hollywood are made is you have the director Christopher Nolan, right? And then you have Hans Zimmer, and they're going back and forth between each other. Like, Hans will make a score, based on the script, and then Nolan will film a little bit, and then it's like this working progress of building a film. And a lot of us filmmakers go to these royalty-free or music licensing websites that we're all using the exact same songs, and we lose the unique identity of what we want our story to be. And so I kind of saw that gap of, man, there's a lot of, I don't want to just use trending songs for trailers on Instagram, or I just don't want to keep reusing these songs that I see other filmmakers using, right? Like, how can I be unique? And so, it's a sound pack, basically, a melodic stem pack, and in all 12 keys. So all sounds are in all 12 keys. This is music. This isn't just noise, or sound effects that can be used in any type of scenario. This is a significant and really revolutionary product where you can build music from scratch. You can add music to your music licensing songs. A 3-minute song can now be 5 minutes long. You can build instrumentation, you can build dynamics, you can build length of songs, and really have complete control of music and sound in your films, right? And so it's the story that you want to tell, not a licensed song trying to tell you how the story should be, and trying to tell you how the dynamic should be, right? It's musical freedom without leaving your video editing software. And and the pack comes with like a 2-hour course, totally set you up for success on how to use this stuff, right? And you don't have to go to Juilliard, you don't have to have a crazy musical background or learn music theory to like understand this stuff. It's really cool. It's been very, very fulfilling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. It's been just game changing for me and how I even just like look at sound, and I've been using them more and more. It's something that has just been a godsend in terms of like, especially transitions. I feel like transitions for me have been like so much easier to navigate with the sound pack. And it's crazy how much you can do with it. It's insane that you can actually build an entire like soundtrack from these packs alone. And that's when you get more into the intricacies of it. But yeah, I mean, for someone who's just like stepping into it, it's still such a beneficial pack. And so, yeah, I mean, if anyone's interested in listening, you can find the link down in the description. Highly recommend you go check them out. It's just so much information and just educational resources on Boomer's page about these packs. And I'll also link, if you guys want to just see volume 1, we did a video a few months ago, I think at this point now, but just shows you like him in action, just like working with all these different layers of sound. And it's just, honestly, it's a masterclass of like sound design. And so I definitely recommend you guys go check that out. Boomer, this was awesome, man. Thanks for joining me, dude. This was such a good conversation, and just stoked for everything you're doing, man.
Always awesome talking with you, my man. I appreciate you.